I think it's offer when people come or any place. It's you're bringing extra hands, definitely. The economic side, of course, is always advantage when you have more people.
Like there's all these terms and all these questions people have, but it's too scary to ask and you don't want to offend anyone, like me using the term white person.
The mainstream media point which you said was very interesting, because one of the reasons which I wanted to sort of talk to experts, quote unquote, especially online, you used to see so many things of people with thousands and thousands of followers.
Oh no, we will start fighting from now. Who will start the show?
Welcome to the Smooth Brain Society and to Voice of Aroha.
Yeah.
Kodrian, I'll let you, because this is your studio, you're hosting us, although it is supposed to be a collaborative podcast.
Yeah.
I will let you sort of introduce everyone to the audience and go from there.
Yeah, thank you, Sahir, and welcome, Mai, to our studio and a new place as well. So, Kia ora whānau, we are having really a great show. This will be a collaborative one between Voice of Aroha and the Smooth Brain Society, and also amazing guest is joining us, which she is also a podcaster. So, before we go there, I want to talk to Sahir. How are you feeling about this today?
I'm excited because I have had you on my show and interviewed you. You have had me on your show to interview me. And now we get to work together. And I have added a little bit of my merch onto the set here, which is brilliant. I quite like it. I have to take it back though. It's my only shirt, but for the time being, it's there. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this. Also talk to another podcaster, which I think we shouldn't do too much. I think everybody's having podcasts now, which is maybe we
dog.
maybe we need to hand licenses out for this or something.
Another degree.
Another degree, a degree in podcasting.
So, Thoraya, how are you?
I'm good.
Very welcome and thank you. So I remember we met when we did that podcast online with me, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also you introduced yourself there and you had a podcast. So,
Yes.
Thoraya, first things we want to start with you. Can you introduce yourself? Like, this is the mic for you. How you would love to introduce yourself?
It's funny, I did a breath work a week ago, and I don't know why it came to me like to introduce myself differently. Usually I just say, hi, my name's Thoraya. And I leave it at that. I'm kind of like, I don't know what you want to know about me. Assalamu alaikum. اسمي ثريا عبد الرسول أو ثريا حسام عبد الستار عبد الجواد أبو شعير. أمل موسى مرت أحمد موسى بنت مياد الصبري وحسام عبد الرسول حفيدة جميلة صبري ومحمد صبري وسلمى الستام و عبد الستار جواد أبو شعير.
Wow.
My lineage. My name's Thoraya.
So I got that. I heard a few words. So here's the thing, right? So Kodrian speaks Arabic. You speak Arabic. I do not speak Arabic.
You should learn Arabic.
I should learn Arabic.
Is this the name? She just said the name.
Yeah. I figured that out. I figured there were the names of your dad in there. I heard the name of your mom in there.
Mm-hmm.
Was the name of your partner in there as well?
Yeah, my husband.
Yes, your husband was in there as well.
My husband.
So I heard these names and I'm like, okay, I see where you're going with this, but I don't understand everything.
So my name's Thoraya. I am the mother of Emel Musa, the wife of Ahmed Musa, the daughter of Mayad Sabri Sam Abdul-Rassol. I forgot to mention my brother in Arabic, but the sister of Jawdet Abdul-Rassol, the granddaughter of Jamila Sabri, and Muhammad Sabri, as well as Salma al-Sattam and Abdul Sattar Jawad Abu Shair. A lot of names, and they changed because when we immigrated to New Zealand, the paperwork didn't reflect how we would have our names in the Middle East. Yeah. So you see me thinking, because I'm like, I can't remember which is which, and like, what should I do here? Yeah.
Names are a funny thing because my granddad, he has 6 brothers, and they all have different surnames because it wasn't a real thing.
Yeah.
So everybody has different surnames there, and then me, my dad, and my mom all have different surnames again.
That must be so annoying to travel.
Yeah, so if we travel together, our passport, everybody has a different last name in them, and it's just the most confusing thing when we're like, no, we're all family, we're all one. It's just nobody has the same last name.
Yeah, because in the Middle East, it's based off, like, your last name, you just take your father's first name. So you trace your lines through.
Absolutely. But Thoraya, all interesting. So why you choose such introduction? Like,
yeah, that's
include
a
all
really
the
good
family.
question. I don't know. So I did a breath work. Do you guys know much about breath work?
No.
I only came across it last year. My friend was like, you should really do it. I'm going to do such a poor job of explaining what it is, and I'm so sorry for that because it's a really, really cool thing and I've fallen in love with it. But it's an experience where you actively breathe, so it's 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out, over a period of time. You should do it with a facilitator to help guide you through there. But your body goes into this rhythmic phase and you can process trauma that has happened that your body has stored. So I did this breath work at a community breath work that Gemma Rose runs in Hamilton. And while I was on that breathwork journey, for some reason, I kept imagining like my ancestors. I kept seeing them, and I've never, ever had that in my life. And as we all know, growing up or living in New Zealand now, the Indigenous Māori, it's all about their whakapapa. Yeah. They'll always introduce themselves through who they are, and you hear all of it. And I like respected that they did it, but like I never felt the need to do it myself. But during this breathwork journey, I just saw my ancestors, and I don't know why. I was just like, I really want to start introducing myself this way because that's who I am. Like, and now that I've had my daughter who has since passed, I've got the people before me, but also the people ahead of me. Yeah. Wow. I just nice, this is the first time that I've done it. So,
it's great. It's just great.
I actually did it.
Just building on that though, you mentioned a lot of family, but like you said, with Maori it's all about the whakapapa, but it's also about ties to the places they're from, and your introduction didn't have any sort of place related stuff in it. And do you think did those things not come to you, or is it more about the family as opposed to...
Yeah, it was more about the family. It's a good point that you mentioned. Like, I'm originally from Baghdad, Iraq. I will say, though, I think the reason why, for me, places and countries don't come straight away, and interested to see if you guys relate at all, or I'm sure you will, but in which way do you relate? Being an immigrant, I feel like I kind of got plucked from my ties. And so I come from Iraq, which was under a dictatorship. And it's too hard and too painful for my parents and their generation to speak about. So I don't know much about my country. I don't know. I know, like, history. Like, when I say history, I mean, like, Babylonian, Macedonian times-ish. But Iraq has changed, as you would know, very much over the years, and I don't know. Yeah. So while we're in New Zealand, I love, admire, slightly envy, and am moved to do it myself when you've got Māori people that are like, yeah, this is my mountain, this is my river, this is my iwi, this is my hapu. I would love to be able to do that, but I don't. And the reason why I don't is because it's too painful for the people that have that knowledge to share that knowledge with me, because they have to go through all the hardships in order to give me that information, and it's too raw for them 30 years on. So that's why I don't have it. I don't even know where I would start other than saying I'm from Baghdad, Iraq.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, I can totally relate to it, which is, you mentioned that it's also when we want to mention that, or when we want to use that, we say we are from here. And because we are living here now for a long time as well, like a years, you feel this has become another home. So it's also, you want to still be proud from the place that you're eating and living there. So sometimes we get confused, should we say we're here or there? Because there's a lot of things have been taken away from us, either from childhood, or like Thoraya mentioned, that if we go ask our elders, they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to make you feel that what they've been through. They want to keep it for themselves. And because I have like my my elders in my community, when I go ask them, they really don't want to tell you all the bad things. They just want to say no because they want us to not be thinking about that. They want us to think about the future. That's why they think, okay, no, we come here, we sacrificed. We want you to focus on your future and live the rest. You don't get anything from there.
Yeah.
But in the same way, sometimes, we especially this other young, I had the chance to, I grew up there actually. I come like in my youth age here. So I had enough kind of many years there. But I see other people from my community who grew up here, they want to know about their place. They want to know, like they are interested more to discover. So it's really, we stuck from this. And also we face, I don't know, it's also funny because it's funny and sad as well at the same time, because sometimes we say there's some people who don't really like where we come from, and we also go back, we will be considered as foreigners.
Yeah.
So as a refugee or migrants, we face that kind of, you become the others. And that's be something with us. Here we become the others, we go back to the others. So it's hard when like, why should we mention the place and what is the place meaning? Because for us, family, it comes first, family now for me is the place. That's why if I'm also, I like it because you mentioned the family. If I'm thinking about this because if I want to also do an intro, I will go that way because they were the reason to give me this life. They were the reason, to call this place home, because without the family, how I can call this place home, that's my answer there.
There's also an element of, like, I have distinct memories of when people find out where I'm from, then going into me, like, expecting me to know and explain the history and the politics of what's going on there.
Yeah, that's
like I remember being in primary school and intermediate at the age of like 10 with the teacher asking me like, oh, so what do you think that's going on there? And feeling the need, like I should know this. And I was always such an advocate. I still am an advocate. It looks a bit different now. And like learning all this stuff so that I was prepared for when people ask that type of question. And now I kind of like pause a bit because it's like, I don't want to say something and then have to like sit there and be your teacher for you.
Yeah, exactly. So Sahir, how about you?
Well,
For the place, what do you face
so
in this question?
funnily, if you go watch my episode, with you interviewing me, and you asked me to introduce myself, I said I've been an immigrant in 4 countries, because although I was born in New Zealand, because my family were immigrants here, I was treated as an outsider. Then I went back to India. Like you said, when you go to India, where your family's from, or when you said if you go to Iraq, where your family's from, you're again the outsider there. You're not the same. And then, well, I went to the UK, and which is the motherland for every Commonwealth country, I guess. But again, we're the immigrants there, and in America also was an immigrant. But yeah, the point, that thing sort of resonates, that the place, you love the place which has sort of adopted you, in this case Aotearoa, being like your home, but it's not the same. You have the passport, you're a citizen, but the connection to the land is not necessarily the same. The connection to the people was, like the friends you've made. So I think the introduction the same way as, like you said, I would say family, but I'd probably add a lot of my friends in, and I'd remove some of my other family members who probably weren't there for my family at the time or whatnot, or we haven't learned about in my introduction, if I were to give it by, if I went by the son of, daughter of, post grandparents, we don't talk about a lot because a lot happened during the partition of India and things like that. So a lot of families were lost. And so in many cases, I do not know a lot about, I want to say 3 generations more on one side and the other. So there is that as well, where if people don't talk about it, how do I know? And then I kind of supplement that with all the friends I've made from around the world. And I think someone had asked me once, ages ago, of like, this comes up a lot with sports, being like, who do you support if New Zealand and India are playing a cricket match, for example? Yeah. And I'm like, I support New Zealand and my family supports India because a bit more, I think I have more friends here and so on. But then if you flip that into, if you had to go to war for a country, who are you defending? And I'm like, I'm defending my friends. I don't care. I don't have any links to these people. Like, I want my friend from Israel to be safe. I want my friend from UK to be safe. I want my friend from New Zealand to be safe. I want my friend from India to be safe. I want my family in all these respective places to be safe. I don't really necessarily, that sort of that national sort of pride, I guess, is not, comes below that sort of familial and like the friends or the family you've kind of made along the way, kind of thing. Does that make sense? Or
It is.
Yeah.
We do face these questions a lot. And it's really interesting also how we would, it's really depend also on the personality and people.
Exactly,
How
Yeah,
to,
who you're talking to, the context.
yeah, and what do you feel, how, because it's really hard to, this question, like who you would like support or defend, that's the question, right? Because I don't know, maybe it's very hard, to be honest, very hard. The people don't get it. If you're not in both sides in the war, it's very hard. Who you are fighting with? Is it your cousins or you the place you're living with and eating from? Is both are dearest to the heart. So they'd say if I face this question really hard, I would say I will be the UN.
Yeah.
No, UN is terrible.
Well, no,
I'll be the middle and go to somewhere else. I don't know, because it's really hard. Look, New Zealand now for me become home, and become all my families kind of, there's still like second or third generations of, or second or third degree of family still there. I still care about it, and not only that, it's just I'm also indigenous people of the land, so I care about the land a lot, the history of the land of Iraq, but it's been taken. But then the question is, I'm meeting different background of people, different culture and things. So every day someone is adding to my life. Should I still stick on my that indigenous things of the land, or should I stick, okay, I'm indigenous person. I want to bring the beautiful culture I have to this other cultures, which is global, everywhere. So I can learn each from them. I can also add to them. That's what I'm thinking, because if I stick here, I think it will make me more nationalist, and then it will also make me trauma and things and all of the things that, you can go back, or if you go, all of it's just the heart, At the same time, I'm leaving here. It's like, you're telling yourself, put your brain here, take your heart there, or put your brain there, take your heart here.
It's interesting that we feel the need to choose when there are settlers on this land who don't.
So
there's a story which was taught to us in school in India once. I do not remember the actual names of the king involved, but apparently when the Zoroastrian people came over to India and they landed on the ports, the king at the time of that particular region, because India wasn't one country, it was multiple kingdoms. The king at the time in that region gave a bowl of milk filled to the brim, basically, and showed it to them, being like, this is our kingdom, it's full, we have no space for you. And one of the leaders of the Zoroastrian people took out some sugar and put it in and said, like, yeah, but we will dissolve and make the place sweeter. And it was that kind of idea of we will come in and add to the culture, you just need to embrace us. Right. And I quite like that story. It's quite how I feel, although I feel that a lot of the time it is the pushback from the people, not even the indigenous people, right? The people who have power in that land being like, no, you cannot come in.
Right.
It's that kind of thing of sort of convincing them that everyone has a lot of can just enrich the place by being let in, or
everyone has something to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem with saying something to offer, I always feel, is it becomes monetary almost. Transactional is what. That's why I wanted to say it in a different way, in the sense that, because when you say, oh, they have something to offer, it means they'll make us more money or not.
That's interesting, because I don't think, when I hear the word something to offer, I don't go to.
The first thing I'm thinking
money.
Is, okay, they have
Monetize.
what are they
Capitalism.
what are they if you say it's something to offer, if you make the place better, it's a different thing.
I just
in
think
my head.
about enrichment through dialogue, art, just being
Yeah.
a part of the community.
Can offer many ways, cultural way, being there, and just the human, because sometimes you have empty land, there's no humans there. That's all far. We are just populating you. I don't know, good and bad. I think it's alpha when people come or any place. It's you're bringing extra hands, definitely. The economic side, of course, is always advantage when you have more people. But the culture side is great. And just the feeling that, interaction with other people, actually, even sometimes if you bring some people who you really disagree with, it gives you alpha. If you really think about it, because it gives you your mind to start thinking about some other things, how I can find the solution that we are really disagree. If you don't have that kind of issues or problem, then you will never think about how we will start our brain moving and stuff like that. If you just go that kind of way. But guys, I want to just bring back to it was very interesting conversation. we talk about the place, it's just interesting how important it is. So I want to talk about more about this related about our why, because one of the things I think we do this kind of podcast, by the way, all of us have a podcast here. Shortly we talk about it. I think it's also related about that why, which is the place of, is it the place recognizing us or not? Mm-hmm. That's why I think we can talk more. But Thoraya, I want to know a little bit more about your background and what you are here to graduate, right?
No, Sahar's here to graduate.
Sahar's graduate.
Yes.
Oh,
I did all my
congrats.
grads already.
Yeah,
Long ago.
When did you graduate? When did I show up to your graduation?
2019, end of 2019.
Yeah, just before COVID.
You're right.
Yeah.
What did you finish?
I finished law.
Law. Nice. Amazing. So you're practicing law now? Or?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. We have a lawyer here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Sahir, your graduation is tomorrow?
My graduation is tomorrow. I did the parade today. That was
Right.
a lot of fun. Me and my brother both did it together, so that was exciting. Very cute. Very family moment. It was nice.
Oh, amazing.
But
Congrats.
yeah, tomorrow is the graduation. I'm looking forward to it. I had come to Thoraya's graduation, so she's
Had to come.
So
I forced him to
she's
come.
obligated to come to mine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
No, that's really nice. That's really nice, guys. So, when I think a couple months ago there was World Refugee Day, right, in June. So when I joined, then you introduced Thoraya there. You said Thoraya also have a podcast. Thoraya, can you talk to us? What is your podcast about? What is the name?
So I have a podcast called Me, Racism, and I co-host it with my friend Julian. It started off, well, it still is a passion project, and I had been thinking about it for years. To be honest, I had probably been thinking about, not necessarily in the format of a podcast, but of something in that realm. Honestly, since I was in high school, I just didn't know how or what to do. I thought about a blog, but I was like, no one reads blogs, no one reads. And then podcasting became a thing, and I never thought about doing it myself. And then I had a friend start a podcast that has since become very successful, and I was like, oh, like you actually can do this just in your like kitchen at home. It doesn't have to be fancy, although the quality and the product is usually better when it is fancy. So it's this passion project. Racism has been a big thing in my life, and I would say honestly everyone's life. If you say it isn't, like you're kidding yourself, you're in denial. It touches absolutely everything, and people are too scared to talk about it. It's a very big, daunting, scary topic. I get it. And it's can be somewhat divisive. And you think that there's a right way and a wrong way, and there's a right and a wrong in groups. And because it's so scary, people don't talk about it. And because people don't talk about it, it continues, and people suffer, and relationships get ruined. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like this gross disease that just continues to live and morph and can like grow. And I think one of the ways that we can shrink it so it's not as scary is by actually talking about it. So I was like, well, I don't like to talk about it, but like I'm comfortable talking about it. And I think one of the ways that we can break this apart is if we were to not talk about racism as racism, but talk about racism in little bite-sized pieces. So what actually is racism? Can you actually be racist to a white person? what is microaggressions? Like, there's all these terms and all these questions people have, but it's too scary to ask, and you don't want to offend anyone. Like me using the term white person. People like hold their breath. It's like, yep, cool, hold your breath, but now let's talk about why you're holding your breath. And once you talk about why you're holding your breath, you can kind of move past that. So that's why I started it.
Interesting. Very interesting. I want to also talk more about like what was the learning or any interesting guest you got.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I have this podcast, but I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist.
What does that mean?
So I'm a perfectionist, but I'm trying to recover from being a perfectionist. And
Right.
being a perfectionist means I don't start anything unless I know it's absolutely perfect. But nothing will ever reach the level of perfect that I need. So it took me a very, very, very long time to start this podcast, and I've since launched it, and Sahar likes to talk about it to me a lot, hold me accountable. I'm now on your podcast, and you keep calling me a podcaster, so I'm like, okay, I've really got to own this identity now. So you asked what are one of the learnings? It's still very infant. I've only got 3 episodes at the moment. There's an episode that's already edited that just needs to be launched, and I just need to keep recording. But really what the podcast is, it's myself and my friend Julian, and Julian and his wife Maya also hold me accountable. And when I told them about this idea, they loved it, and so they kept pestering me to launch it. So I asked Julian, I was like, I'm really scared. Would you do it with me? So it's him and I, and we really just talk about these concepts through our own lived experiences. So it's nothing formal. It's not like I've got, like Sahar, you like to bring on experts in their field. I'm yet to do that. I'd love to do that. I'd love to interview people. But it really is like at the base level, us just breaking down definitions, talking about what it is, and then our thoughts, feelings, and whatnot about it, and then peppered in with stories that him and I have gone through.
Right.
Have any of the stories which sort of like Julian's brought up sort of changed your perspective in any way, or and vice versa?
So our very, very first, well, I say very, very, as if we've got like hundreds of episodes out. Episode 1 is about what is the definition of racism. Can you be racist to a white person? And we went into it with totally different points of view. And through discussion, I could see it through his point of view. I'd like to think, I'm sure he could see it through my point of view. But yeah, definitely. Every time we talk, like, often we'll go out for dinner or just be hanging out, and then we look at each other, we're like, damn it, if only we had the mic. Like, we talk about these things every day anyway. So it was like very organic to just be like, why don't we record this if we're so passionate about it?
My mate Jeremy, he keeps saying he works in media productions. He keeps saying always keep the camera rolling, never cut it. So maybe you should just
have a camera on me.
Carry that one mic with you everywhere you go.
You know what I need? I need those little mics that you like put on here and then just like record. But then I have to edit it. That's the problem. Then I have to listen to all of that.
How good are you at listening to your own voice during the editing stage?
I'm okay. I do cringe, but everyone cringes. You get over it very fast.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's also fun, you know, when you do this, you hear again. And it's just great. You learn a lot of things. So for us, we are doing the video side of it, you know, we are being an expert in Canva now on designing and stuff like that. It's just enjoy it.
You've got to become an expert in everything, eh? You're like self-sufficient. All of a sudden, you're like a media manager. You've got your Instagram account.
This stuff and all of that.
Exactly.
You become a designer. Or you know where to find designers.
You tell us, So we talked on the previous podcast we had with you about your podcast thing. But can you share a little more, like tell us about what do you want, the learning from your podcast? Because you also host quite a few good number of guests. What was your more kind of interesting subject? And you find it very interesting for you personally that you enjoy?
So
there's many.
There's many. Like, so first of all, my mom spoke about genetics on episode 4. So because she's my mother, I have to say that was my favorite.
Okay, I see.
Like we come from immigrant backgrounds, and like your parents are loving but very scary people. So that was my favorite episode. Now that that's out of the way, so I've had about 55 episodes now, and like 3 or 4 more I will probably have been recorded. They'll come out soon. I think the one which was the most interesting for me, in terms of something which I never thought about or done before, was this. Was with Dr. Karaitiana Tayuru, who does work in terms of artificial intelligence and how it intersects with indigenous communities and what that sort of means for data sovereignty, what that means in terms of like indigenous people's context, how that intersects with indigenous law. And that was very interesting because it's something which I didn't actually think about, that how those things sort of interact. But then there's a lot of things which I learned from multiple episodes, because the whole point of my podcast is I have no clue what that person does, and I am the dumb one in the room, and therefore every episode's a learning one, right? Everyone absolutely. Everything you learn, every time you learn something different. So it's a different style to Thoraya's, where it's two people having a conversation over multiple episodes. Mine is every time it's with someone new and you learn something new, and
absolutely. And we have also different style. So the different style we do, I think because we call ourselves Aroha movements, because we are a movement of spreading around different programs and things. So you will see us in a festival. We set up our podcast and start conducting interviews from people. So that will be specific about the vibes and why people are attending, why people celebrating such a things. If there's like a multicultural festival, so we want to understand why people is important in such a things. And the story of this place is not covered by media, by mainstream media. That's why we do what we do. But also the podcast, that was the first how we started, which has been 5 years, just joy for me, you know. It started from my personal why I wanted to talk, I wanted to speak out.
Yeah.
There's too many rules, policies. You sign up, you have to not. And then this was my place, at least to talk about refugee sector, at least to when I was witnessing some other crazy problems, so I can talk about it. Is it not working for my communities, etc. And that's how it's grow.
No, because I remember when you were just doing some little audio work where you were still part at Victoria University as the coordinator for refugee students. I remember back then, that's when I met you and met some of the people of Voice of Thoraya, and now you're everywhere. I see you in photos with Cricket Wellington, and I see you in photos interviewing Tamitha Paul and things like that. So
but
the growth.
There's an amazing team behind me. So shout out to the team. And there's amazing volunteers and production teams. You know, these people who make all the things you guys see at this level.
Yeah.
So when we started, it's just a volunteer. I think we started twice in a month, something like that. And there was a lot of time we stopped. And then COVID come. Actually, that was our blessing time. Because people were crazy. I mean, people were new for the things. Everyone thinks afraid and etc., which is natural. It's a very new epidemic, right? Yeah. And then we said, no, wait, let's increase our conversation, but in different way. People were focusing on all the same repeated news. Yeah. We brought the real stories, real people. We even tried to do international music festival, because all the world was locked down to show solidarity. So all these things have added we need to think about the future. And every single episode, every single things we do, there's 1 person, 2 person is starting listening or following our pages. Yeah. When these things happen, there's something is interesting to someone, is bringing them back.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the mainstream media point which you said was very interesting, because one of the reasons which I wanted to sort of talk to experts, quote unquote, and learn about research was because, especially online, you used to see so many things of people with thousands and thousands of followers spreading almost nonsense facts as if they were true, and things which can be very damaging. And a lot of people in research and in academia have been burnt by journalists and media before, and they always tell stories of how whatever they had said, words have been twisted by journalists or have been taken out of context and then changed. And then I thought that this was a nice way to give them a platform to share their research exactly how they wanted to. So one very good example, I don't know if this part needs to be like, what do you say, like, what's it called? Not censored, but if you some of the words, because we're talking about drug use here. So one of the researchers which came on was speaking about cannabis research, which he does, and he was talking about how he was looking at one specific type of cannabinoid, which is one chemical within cannabis, and how it might help treat Alzheimer's, but he was using it in animal models, and it was like very early stages. But the newspaper just published, or the Sydney Times just published, marijuana can cure Alzheimer's, and then all of a sudden a lot of people are messaging him being like, did you say this, that, the university's on his case, and he was like, I'm not talking to journalists anymore because you're not actually doing what you should and be like responsible. And this, I've heard other examples by lots of other researchers on as well. This was just my favorite one because I found it very funny. So then this way they get to have their full conversation. If somebody listens to the full episode, they get full context, because it's not that certain things can be good. Like certain things have downsides and you need to know about those downsides, but then certain things are not necessarily all bad and we need to understand that, or certain concepts in need to be understood a bit more. So I think one of the episodes which I did was about self-injury, and the researchers spoke about a little bit about the importance of understanding it, because sometimes people do it to help and it helps them, so you can't just take it away. You need to understand understand how this works a little bit. So those are a few examples. There's a lot more.
Absolutely. Because, so guys, we do have another 4 minutes. So we want to maybe talk about like what is the next, if you have any other thoughts, what you're going to want to do, what other topics you want to talk about. So Thoraya, you mentioned that there's 3 already recorded, right? And published. So what is kind of the other topics you think you will be talking with all the crazy things going in the world?
I know.
So
and we really have to we really try to be conscious about what we talk about.
Right.
Because you can very easily get caught up in every single news story, but then it's very reactive, and we want to be very conscious about what it is that we're trying to achieve, why we've done this, and how do we get there. So we're still thinking of, like at this stage, breaking down those basic topics. Like I said, the first episode is about what actually does racism mean, what's the definition of racism. Okay. Episodes 2 and 3 are talk about microaggressions. What is a microaggression? Why does it matter? We've got one that just needs to be published that is about, one that episodes 2 and 3 are about cultural appropriation. And we've got one coming up about microaggression. An episode, so we're just talking about these words that you hear all the time. What do they actually mean? Why is it important? Another thing that we're going to bring in is just talking about stories that come up. So if you spoke Arabic, you would have heard in my introduction, I'm the mother of Amal Musa, my daughter, who passed away. In that whole experience, there were snippets of racism peppered throughout. So talking about stories that happen to us directly and talking about this is what happened, this is why it's important, or like, actually you think racism doesn't exist, here are evidence about it, and how do we move through that. Asking the question about what are the next steps is also really interesting for me, because something that I've been thinking about recently is when you have a podcast, as you would know, you've been on this journey for 5 years, and as you definitely know, you've got your merch right there. You guys are further along in your podcasting experience than I am. When you have a podcast, you want people to listen to it, right? How do you get people to listen to it? Social media. Okay, you've got a TikTok account, you've got an Instagram account, now you've got to post. You've got to post regularly because you're competing against all these things. Then you get a good following. Okay, we've got a good following, people are expecting episodes every week. Okay, now they want 2 episodes every week. How do we do this? We can get funding for equipment, for salaries of some sort, but also we need to monetize. And I really don't like that. Like, I get it. It's necessary. But I just don't want to get caught up in this whole consumerism, capitalistic world that we live in. I feel like we all overconsume. And that's not just food and drink. That's also knowledge, that's books, that's you can like overconsume wellness, you can overconsume mindfulness. We just overconsume everything. And it's really good because it offers avenues for people to make a living out of. It also offers avenues for places like this to exist, that communities need it. Like, oh my gosh, if I had this podcast to listen to when I was growing up, I would have loved it. But you need to be self-sustainable. And how do you do that? And I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't want to monetize. I don't want to go down that path straight away just yet. I need to think about it more. So the episodes, where it sits with me at the moment is the episodes will come when they come. It will reach audiences and listeners who need to hear it when they're ready to hear it, and they'll share it and they'll talk about it. My main thing about talking about racism, yes, this podcast is an avenue, but I don't necessarily need like 20,000 listeners a month. I'm sure you guys are on the same thought process where you're like, if I hit one person that didn't think about this, that's enough. Exactly. And if that one person meaningfully engages with it and that one person talks to someone about it, then that's another person. That's enough for me. I don't need a lot of listeners at this stage. We'll see how it goes.
That's exactly. No, I agree, because it's about self-sustainability, because I do it on my own. I had mentioned before that it's all self-funded. I have a Patreon in the sense I put it up there, but I did not want to put anything of the actual episodes behind paywalls, because my entire point is journal articles and things like that are always behind paywalls, and you want everybody to have the opportunity to listen to this. That's why you chuck more money in to make sure it gets to every podcast network or whatever. But then at some point you're like, you have a life and a job and things, and you need something to make it self-sustainable. So you put a Patreon out there and you hope that YouTube ads and things will sort of cover it, but you be very explicit, being like, the money's not going, you're not being hidden if you don't have the money to. I want you to listen to it, and if you're kind enough, sure. Like all the merch, all of the money just goes to Youthline Wellington, so none of the money actually goes to me. Whatever's bought just goes there, because it was the whole idea of merch was from decided that let's see if we can help people as much as we can from it. But yeah, it's that hard kind of like battle off, right? Like you need to sort of be self-sustainable and grow, and you need time and money for it. But then also you don't want to monetize things more than you need to. Or
Well, that's just amazing, and just for the audience, so when the three podcasters meet, that's why we go overtime.
Because we love to talk.
It's just amazing, we can keep going and talking for a lot of things. I think that's what I love on this podcasting story. It's like I spend all my time, 30 minutes, 1 hour with the people to talk and sharing experiences or learning new things. It's just it's like you're reading a book, you're reading a story, you're reading experience of lived experience from different perspective. This is great knowledge. And so thanks to the modern also technology. We need to use it for good, This people like that, YouTube, there's a lot of crazy stuff as well there, So why not we put some knowledge there? Why not we to put some kind of corridor that some people will find themselves need some answers, or just at least may change their day, because we are also looking for that one change.
Exactly.
We can have many people can listen in, but one of them can take some actions to reflect on themselves or their community around them. That's a big win. So I think look guys, we really want to go, but we have to finish
we have to wrap up. So do you want to do the voice of Aloha question first, or should I?
You can do it first.
Okay, so on our episodes, on the Smooth and Study episodes, the final question we ask all our guests is, if you had one piece of advice to give everybody, what would it be? And I can see you.
I didn't get to prep. If you had one bit of advice to give to somebody, what would it be?
Yes.
Just live in the moment. I had to learn that the hard way, but you really want to just live in the moment. It's so easy to get caught up thinking about the future, being a perfectionist, especially, that you miss everything that goes by right in front of your eyes.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Great. So Thoraya, because you've been first time on our show, so we do this tradition we did with Sahir as well, but we had other guests came in, so you never know who was the guest. It's not Sahir.
Yeah, okay.
Someone
He
else.
asks me enough
Someone
questions.
else. So then you will also have opportunity to write us a question and the thing. So someone have wrote this question. It says, "Tell me something you are proud of."
Just one thing. I'm proud of so much. Something I am proud of is getting through, or I guess I'm definitely still going through it, a really, 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 really horrific, tough time this year with family, but also on a brighter note, launching the podcast, like actually putting it out there. And having to be confronted with people calling me a podcaster and like, okay, no, I actually have to continue on with this journey.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's about making you accountable. One way or the other.
Yeah, another person to hold me accountable. Damn.
Great, amazing. So I think this is us. It was just amazing conversation.
Awesome.
This is one of collaboration. We can do many more. And
Yeah,
Hopefully,
more
yeah.
people.
Always
We can
cool.
do more conversations over there. So appreciate
course.
the conversation and Corridor guys today. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.